Recent polling has revealed just how tight the upcoming election in Australia could be. For the first time, opposition leader Peter Dutton has managed to draw level with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese when it comes to being the preferred Prime Minister. The poll results also show a shift in voter concerns, with law and order now overtaking climate change as one of the nation's top priorities as the election approaches. Why do you think the Prime Minister's popularity is falling while Mr. Dutton's is rising? Claire O'Neill responds, noting that it is typical for polls to tighten as the election period approaches. She emphasizes that the polling reflects a shift in focus. Politics can sometimes feel like an academic exercise, but as the election draws near, it's time for Peter Dutton to step up and reveal his plans for the Australian people, she says. For the past 3 years, the government has been focused on cost of living relief and helping Australians through tough economic times. Meanwhile, Peter Dutton has voted against key measures like tax cuts for all taxpayers and energy price relief for households. It's about time he comes forward and explains himself. Barnaby Joyce responds, acknowledging the shift in the polls but pointing out that the real test will be on election day. The period we've just come through has seen the coalition set its agenda, which includes opposing tax cuts and energy bill relief. On the other hand, they've called for cutting $300 billion from government services, which would impact Australians significantly, Joyce says. Ultimately, the most important poll is the one that happens on election day. Voters need to know what the Liberals plan to do if they win. Shifting focus, the discussion moves to the growing prominence of law and order concerns among voters. In recent months, issues like cost of living, housing, healthcare, and crime have risen in importance, overtaking environmental issues. Why do you think law and order is now such a major concern? Barnaby Joyce highlights that the rising concern around law and order stems from the government's failure to address escalating issues in everyday life. The past 3 years under the Labor Party have seen cost of living rise sharply. Their energy policies have failed to make any difference, and they've been more focused on promoting unreliable, intermittent power sources like wind turbines and solar panels than addressing real concerns, he says. At the same time, people are witnessing increasing levels of crime in their communities, especially in regional areas. From fire bombings to violent crimes, people are starting to feel unsafe in their own homes. Law and order is crucial, and Australians are demanding action. Barnaby continues by pointing out the impact of crime on regional communities, where residents face break-ins, car thefts, and property damage. This isn't a racial issue. It's about criminals targeting families, and people are fed up. If people can't afford basic living costs and are facing increasing crime in their neighbourhoods, then the government's priorities need to shift. The conversation then turns to the issue of films and books being reviewed for potential censorship by the Australian Classification Board, with some of the nation's most iconic films and children's books at risk of edits to meet modern community standards. The works under review include Crocodile Dundee, Mary Poppins, and Gone with the Wind, along with children's classics like books by Enid Blyton and Dr. Seuss. Claire O'Neill firmly opposes the idea of censoring such iconic works, stating, "Absolutely not. These films and books are part of our cultural heritage. They played a pivotal role in shaping my childhood and many others. I believe in preserving these fantastic works of art, and I'll continue to read them to my children." She adds that while there is a review of the classification powers, she does not support rewriting or censoring works that have become staples of Australian culture. Barnaby Joyce also shares his view on the issue, offering a bipartisan perspective. "Michelle Rowland is a competent minister, and I don't think she's going to allow this to go ahead," he says. "We are all tired of people in executive roles telling us what we should think, believe, or do. Works like Crocodile Dundee and books by Enid Blyton should remain untouched, unless they are obviously harmful or inappropriate. It's important to maintain the integrity of these cultural treasures." In a lighter moment, the discussion concludes with a behind-the-scenes look at how the guests prepare for the show. Barnaby Joyce is shown earlier in the day, setting up for his shot in the outback, highlighting the lengths they go to in order to bring the viewers an inside look at their discussions. With that, the segment wraps up. The topics discussed today show just how much the political landscape is shifting as we approach the election, with voters becoming more vocal about issues like law and order and economic security. Time will tell how these factors play out on election day. As always, I'll keep you updated on these developments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights into the latest Australian news.